Konnichiwa. Welcome to our 2022 Katari Japanese storytelling show. This will be our 28th annual Katari event as part of the Toronto Storytelling Show, which is the largest and oldest storytelling show in Canada. We would like to have an opening remarks from the board of the directors of the Toronto Storytelling Show. Please welcome Colin Blair.
On behalf of the board of directors for Storytelling Toronto, I'd like to welcome the Katari Japanese storytellers to the Toronto Storytelling Festival. Since its inception 28 years ago, Katari has been a regular participant in the festival and continues to be welcome. Stories have always traveled and been shared and adapted in their travels. Katari shares stories that made their way to Japan along the Silk Road. Storytelling Toronto thanks the tellers for their stories, the audience for listening, and the funders for their support. The festival would not be possible without the support of the Canada Council for the Arts, Canadian Heritage, the Toronto Arts Council, and the Ontario Arts Council. Enjoy the stories. Momotaro will be one of the most well-known, frequently told folktale in Japan. Aisha and her family made the story into a video theater as their spring break family project. Aisha Masaoka was born and raised in Toronto. She's now living in Listowel, Ontario. She's a kindergarten teacher and mother of two. Please welcome Aisha and her family.
Once upon a time in Japan, there lived in a country an old man and his wife. They were very lonely because they had no children. One day, the old man went to the mountain to cut firewood, and his wife went to the river to wash clothes. No sooner had the old woman begun her washing than she was very surprised to see a big peach floating down the river. It was a huge peach, the biggest peach she had ever seen. She reached into the water and brought the peach home to give her husband for supper. Later that afternoon, the old man came home, and the old woman told him, "Look what a beautiful peach I found for your supper." The old man agreed. It was a wonderful peach. He was so hungry, he said, "Let's divide it and eat it." So the old woman brought a big knife from the kitchen and was getting ready to cut the peach in half. But just then, a human voice came from inside the peach.
"Wait, don't cut me,"
said the voice. Suddenly, the peach split open and a beautiful baby boy jumped out. The old man and his wife were very happy and took the baby to be their son. Since he was born from a peach, they named him Momotaro, which means peach boy. They loved Momotaro very much and raised him well. When Momotaro was about 15 years old, he went to his father and said,
Father, you've always been very kind to me. Now I'm a big boy and must do something to help my country. In a distant part of the sea, there's an island named Ogre Island. Many wicked ogres live there. They often come to our lands to do bad things, like carrying people away and stealing the things. So I'm going to Ogre Island to fight them and bring back treasure. Please let me do this.
The old man was surprised to hear this, but he was also very proud of Momotaro for wanting to help other people. So he and the old woman helped Momotaro get ready for his journey to Ogre Island. The old man gave him a sword and armor, and the old woman fixed him dumplings for lunch. Then Momotaro began his journey. He walked towards the sea. As he went, he met a spotted dog. The dog growled at Momotaro and was about to bite him. But then Momotaro gave him one of the dumplings.
Thanks, dumpling boy. Dumpling boy.
He told the spotted dog that he was going to fight the ogres on Ogre Island.
Go fight the ogres on Ogre Island.
So the dog said he'd come along too. Momotaro and the spotted dog kept on walking, and soon they met a monkey. The spotted dog and the monkey started to fight. But Momotaro explained to the monkey that he and the spotted dog were going to fight the ogres on Ogre Island.
We're going to Ogre Island.
Then the monkey asked if he could go with them.
Can I go with you? Yeah.
So Momotaro gave the monkey and a dumpling and brought him along.
Thank you.
And the spotted dog and the monkey kept on walking. Suddenly they met a pheasant. The spotted dog and the monkey and the pheasant were about to start fighting. But when the pheasant heard that Momotaro was going to fight the ogres on Ogre Island,
I'm gonna go fight the ogres on Ogre Island.
she asked if she could go too.
Can I come with you? Yeah.
So Momotaro gave the pheasant a dumpling and brought her along. So with Momotaro as her general, the spotted dog and the monkey and the pheasant, who usually hated each other, all became friends and followed Momotaro. They walked a long, long way and finally reached the sea. At the edge of the sea, Momotaro built a boat. They all got in the boat and started across the sea towards Ogre Island. When they came within sight of the island, they could see that the ogres had a very strong fort there. And there were many ogres. There were many different colors of ogre: red, blue, and green. First, the pheasant flew over the walls of the fort and began to peck at the ogres' heads. They all tried to hit the pheasant with their clubs, but she was quick and dodged all their blows. And while the ogres weren't looking, the monkey slipped up and opened the gate to the fort. Then Momotaro and the spotted dog rushed into the fort and started fighting the ogres too. It was a huge battle. The pheasants pecked at the heads and the eyes of the wicked ogres. The monkey clawed at them, and the spotted dog bit them. And Momotaro cut them with his sword. At last, the ogres were defeated. They all bowed down before Momotaro and promised never to be wicked again. Then they brought Momotaro all the treasure they had.
Yay!
It was a great treasure with gold and silver and colored jewels. There was an invisible coat and hat, a hammer that made a piece of gold every time you hit the ground, and many other wonderful things. Momotaro and his 3 friends carried all this in their boat back to their own land. Then they made a cart and put all the treasure in the cart and pulled it all the way to Momotaro's house. How surprised the old man and the wife were to see their son come home safely. With all the treasure Momotaro had brought, they were very rich, and they all lived happily ever after.
This year, we would like to introduce one of the most famous traditional stories in Japan called A Tale of Hagoromo. This story originated in Chinese mythology and was also a very popular rendition of the story as no mask dance theater in Japan. Hagoromo stands for silky sheer robe and was worn by a heavenly maiden or a tenyo. Something similar in Western culture would be the nymphs in Greek mythology, or it could also be similar to an angel. Today, in our own adaptation, Seiko and Eiko threw in a couple of waka, traditional styles of poetry in rhyme, to the story. And also, dancer Atsuko performed Hagoromo's feather robe dance in her own style. Please welcome Seiko, Eiko, and Atsuko.
Once upon a time, in the heavenly world high above the sky, heavenly maidens are enjoying themselves by singing and dancing. As they dance, their silky, feathery Hagoromo robe are flowing gracefully in the air. Now, I'm going to recite some of waka poems describing the beautiful scenery of Japan. 春過ぎて夏木々けらしい白田への衣干す町天のかぐ山
As spring gives way to summer, silky white robes hang to dry are swaying back and forth at the bottom of Mount Amano-Kaguyama. Oh, what a beautiful sight! Silky robes flapping in the air against the background of lush green mountains.
Next waka. 田子の浦湯打ち入れてみれば真っ白にぞ富士の高根に雪は降りつつ
Approaching the shoreline of picturesque Tagonoura Lagoon, one can catch a glimpse of the most majestic summit of Mount Fuji, swathed in mystical white amid falling snow.
One day, a maiden is dancing. She looked down the world beneath the cloud. Before long, she found herself going downwards dancing. She landed on a beach covered with beautiful white sand. She hung her Hagoromo robe over a branch of pine tree. She started to wade playfully through the water. A fisherman passed by and saw the Hagoromo robe hanging over a pine tree. He picked it up and said to himself,
Oh, what a beautiful robes. I have never seen a robe as beautiful as this. I'm going to keep this as my family heirloom.
The maiden saw the fisherman taking her Hagoromo robe away. She ran after him and begged him to return the Hagoromo robe to her. The fisherman refused.
Too bad. Finders keepers. This is my treasure now.
She tearfully pleaded, Please return it to me. I cannot fly back to my home, heavenly world, without it. Fisherman kept saying,
No way.
She bursted into tears. I must return to heaven while the sky is clear and blue. Once the corridor to heaven is covered by the clouds, I will be exiled from heaven eternally. The fisherman started to feel sorry for her.
Then, if you perform a heavenly dance just for me, right here, I will give the robe back to you.
I would dance with pleasure, but I need my Hagoromo robe in order to dance. Would you give it back to me?
Should I trust you? If I give this robe back to you, you might fly away immediately without dancing.
What a thing to say! In our heavenly world, we always keep our promises. We never tell lies, not like human beings on earth.
You put me on the spot. Yes, it's quite true that we humans do many shameful things, like lying, cheating, fighting. Okay, here's your robe.
Handing over the robe to her, the fisherman realized that he is mesmerized by her beauty and is very much attracted to her. The maiden started to dance with her Hagoromo robe flowing gracefully. Before long, she is dancing up and up and higher, and finally disappeared high above the sky. The fisherman lamented.
Oh, I wish the heavenly maiden could have stayed with me a little longer.
Another waka recite. 天津風、雲の通い地吹き閉じよ。乙女の姿、しばしとどめん。
Oh, Amatsukaze, god of wind, please close the corridor to the heaven with clouds so that I can admire the beauty of the heavenly maiden a little longer.
天津風、雲の通い地吹き閉じよ。乙女の姿、しばしとどめん。
Internment Camp is a silent storytelling piece created in 2017 by Noriko Yamamoto to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the forced evacuation and internment of over 22,000 Japanese Canadians living on the west coast of Canada during World War II. She performed this again in Japan in February 2020 as a part of her Memories show. Today, she'll be performing this piece to commemorate the 80th anniversary of this tragic chapter in Canada's history. This is Noriko's interpretation of the times and tribulations of these people and their perseverance during the war years. She performs this story based on first-hand accounts from Japanese Canadians like her parents-in-law and a visit to some of the locations of the internment camps, including the one in New Denver and its museum. Noriko says, this story is particularly difficult to perform at the moment in light of the heartbreaking events occurring in Ukraine. She is perplexed and saddened at injustices that have happened and continue to happen all over the world. Noriko Yamamoto is a Toronto-based multidisciplinary performing and visual artist. Since moving to Toronto from Tokyo in 1994, Noriko has been performing at schools, festivals, and at various other events, including our annual Katari show as the silent storyteller. During the first 6 months after Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor, all the Canadian citizens of Japanese descent were dragged into total chaos. February 25, 1942, in particular, will be remembered by them as the Day of Remembrance, the Day of Exile. This story is about a family that chose to escape from the wrongdoings of their own government. Reiko's family quietly disappeared into the darkness of night with the boxes of Hina dolls. And here's what happened to the Hina dolls 60 years later. This story was written by Yumiko Hoyano in Edmonton, Alberta, who unfortunately passed away in 2014. Her story has been made into a short film by Komaki Matsui in 2012. Please enjoy Reiko's Hina dolls. The people of Japan have been making paper dolls for over 1,000 years. These were made to keep young girls safe from evil and disease. Historically, this was laid in a river, a stream, so that they could carry bad spirits away. Even today, young girls receive Hina dolls, usually from their parents or grandparents, so that they may grow healthy, wealthy, and happy. Let me tell you a story of a set of Hina dolls that made a long journey from Japan to Vancouver and now to Edmonton, Alberta, where they were displayed at the local Japanese Canadian Community Center. And the story goes like this. Toki was overjoyed when she found out she was pregnant. It was a long-awaited good news, since she had married and settled into the village of Hina. Hina is a small Japanese Canadian community where people are running strawberry farms, and most of them are Japanese immigrants. Kanji, her husband, was ecstatic when he heard the news and jumped around the strawberry field, screaming with joy. When his friend Tetsu saw him, his first thought was that Kanji was being attacked by a swarm of bees. So Tetsu was almost ready to run for shelter. Then Kanji cried out, "Hey Tetsu, hear this, I'm going to be a father." The two hugged each other and jumped around the field, paying no mind to the strawberries they were crushing under their feet. The baby was born in the middle of winter. Toki and Kanji named her Sachi, a girl. Sachi means happiness, and yes, they were a happy family indeed. But that happiness soon turned to tragedy when Sachi developed fever and would not stop crying for days. When the doctor arrived from town and saw her, he said, "Why didn't you call me earlier? Look, her pulse is so weak." The next day, 2 wooden boxes arrived from Toki's parents in Japan. Kanji and Toki were stunned at the beauty of the Hina dolls. And Toki brought a doll to Sachi's bedside and showed it to her and said, "Look, Sachi, isn't this beautiful? Get well soon. We will display the dolls together." Sachi opened her eyes wide and stared at the doll. Then her eyes slowly closed again. "Farewell," they seemed to say. After the funeral, Toki insisted that the Hina dolls be sent down the river, saying that all they do is remind her that she could not save Sachi. Kanji tried to console her. "No, dear, it's not your fault. I'm to blame." Tetsu intervened. "Friends, Sachi is in heaven now. Surely she wishes happiness for you. The dolls might be a gift from heaven for you." Kanjiran and Toki looked at the doll and nodded. They decided to keep them. December 7th, 1941. People of Hine were attending Sunday service at their church when someone rushed in and cried out, "It's a war! Sensoreyo! Our country attacked America." "Usotaro, it can't be true." Some were shocked, and others were excited by the news. "Toto yattaka. At last, we've done it." Imperial Japan declared war against allied nations that included Canada. The radio announced all persons of Japanese descent shall be regarded as enemy aliens and shall be interned at once. 1,200 fishing boats were confiscated. Then, on the very day of the attack, 37 people were arrested by the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The next day, Mr. Ariga, the principal of Hene's Japanese school, was arrested. Kanji was upset. "Why, Ariga-san has nothing to do with Japan's militarism." And on February 25th, a notice was passed along the Japanese immigrants from the local Tottori Prefectural Association. The notice asked all men of military age to dutifully comply with the request of Mr. Mori, the chair of the Emergency Committee of Japanese Association. Tetsu brought the notice to Kanji and talked about it. Here, it says, "Men are to go to the road camp." Then it reads, "The rest of the family will not have to move out." Tetsu seems to think that it's a fair deal, but Kanji shook his head. "No way. How can I leave my wife and my little daughter behind?" When Tetsu left for the road camp, Kanji told Toki that Canadian government would soon be confiscating all the radios and cars. And next, he argued, they will take away all our property and put all of us into the internment camps. And he said to Toki with determination, but Toki, I will not go. I don't want to go either, but what will we do if all the other Japanese follow the order? So we will run away and be free. Free. Run. Where? We have Reiko with us. We can't do that. That's why we have to run. Right now. Tonight. Toki pointed to the wooden boxes of Hina dolls and said, look, these are the all that are left of Sachi. I will not leave without both my children. This annoyed Kanji. Look dear, we have no time to argue. We cannot carry that big bulky stuff with us. Meanwhile, Reiko overheard her parents arguing, and she got out of bed and asked, are we going somewhere? Startled by her voice, Kanji turned around and hugged her and said, yes dear, we are moving far away now, so get dressed, hurry, but don't worry, everything will be okay. The three, in the middle of the night, carried out their belongings and loaded them onto their truck. Little Reiko carried her things in a box, tripped on a rock and fell to the ground. Then suddenly, a flashlight illuminated her surroundings. A policeman emerged from the darkness. Hey, it's after curfew. What's going on here? What's in the box? He pointed his gun at Reiko. Reiko looked up and said, it's my sister's dolls. She's dead. The young, pale face of the policeman stared back at her. And then he switched his flashlight off and walked back into the darkness of night. To this day, Reiko, now she's 83 years old, does not know why the policeman let their family go. She says, maybe Ohina-sama was watching over us. This is what happened on the Hina Matsuri Day in March 1942. When Reiko decided to move into the senior's home, she found 2 big wooden boxes in her basement. And she called the local Japanese Canadian Cultural Center and asked if they wanted. The center welcomed her donation. And they even organized a Hina doll festival in her honor. As the children sang the songs of Hina dolls, Reiko was moved and cried a bit. A little girl asked her, "Why are you crying?" Reiko answered, "No, I'm just happy to see you enjoy Hina dolls like I used to do when I was little." As the children sang, the pale cheeks of the Hina dolls seemed to turn pink as if they were smiling, as if they were revived by the joyful voices of the children. おし